I'm Katrina, and this is So and Tare. We're talking about saffron, all you need to know.
So saffron has the red part and the yellow part. Here is saffron flower. The inside of this is a crocus. It's a bulb, so it's planted like it is planted like a daffodil or a tulip. That's what's underground. What comes up in the top is this. And you can either pluck the whole flower like I just did. What I usually do is not this, because I like the bees to have the opportunity to get the pollen, and they love the pollen, and sometimes I even find bees sleeping in it. I'll probably not release this until I can get some more footage this year and maybe show you that if I come upon it. So these are the strands. And what I do, I usually use tweezers. So you can pull them out, and then that you can either set back outside, or, like I said, I don't even pick them usually. But you're left with that. There's three little strands. And they're all connected together. That is the female reproductive part of the flower. So there's only one. There's only one group of three per flower. And every flower really only lasts one day, maybe two. But that is what you pick for saffron. So now that you know how expensive it is, and you realize why. There are usually families that have a saffron plot. The harvest is only 2 to 3 weeks. My harvest is a little bit extended because I have some in the front yard and some in the backyard, and the front yard usually goes first. It looks like we're doing the same this year. But usually the front yard goes first, and usually starts around Halloween. This is, I think it's the 23rd of October right now, so we're a little bit early. But what happens is it only flowers for 2 to 3 weeks, and usually the front and the back overlap a little, but usually the back happens after the front. Microclimate's just within the property. So where can you grow this? You can grow it in a pot. You can grow it inside. You can. If you are in a Mediterranean climate, and that is like I am in California in zone 9B, you can grow it outdoors. You can grow it probably in other places. You just have to know your seasons might be different than mine. So you can plant it very quickly before it's supposed to flower, because it doesn't have to produce fruit to give you a product. So it just has to flower. And so, like, I got these, I don't remember when I planted them. I split an order with a friend. It was cheaper that way. I got them at Dutch something. If I remember, I'll put the website that I got them from. It's Dutch something. Anyway, and so saffron's super easy to grow because I don't do anything. We have clay soil here, so I did dig a trench and put some potting soil only where I was going to plant the bulbs. And I don't water them, I don't fertilize them, I don't do anything to them. And they have tremendously just multiplied. Now, should I have dug them up and separated them? Maybe. Probably. I haven't done it. I don't even remember how long I've had these. But I need to. They work well as a border plant. So if you have, like, this is along a border, this is along a border I don't want people to walk on, and I have another border over there, and they lead towards the pond. After this is, well, it's a little deteriorated now. After they're done blooming, they produce a green leaf, and it looks very similar to a very long grass. And that is really pretty. It just flops over. It doesn't stand up straight. It flops over. It can be like that long. I'll maybe try and find some footage, or maybe wait and put this out later. And it's a pretty good plant to have. If you have recipes that use saffron, and you go to the store because you don't have saffron in your spice rack, you go to the store and you buy saffron, you're going to pay a lot. If you have these and you collect them, yeah, it's a lot of work, because every morning you have to go out, or every day you have to go out and collect them. But it's only a couple weeks worth of effort, and you have more saffron than you'll probably be able to use. I have saffron from years past. Could I have been making saffron recipes? Yes. I have not been making as much as I could. There are traditional breads such as challah. I'll put a link in the top here for that, and that calls for saffron. There are drinks that call for saffron. There are Indian dishes and curries and all sorts of dishes that call for saffron. And if you have it available to you, guess what? If you put in more than what the recipe calls for, it's extra tasty. So I encourage you to grow saffron, get these little threads, and enjoy it, because it's an awesome plant. You don't have to care for it. You don't have to do anything but harvest it. So how many plants are they? How many of those types of plants are there out there that you can think of? Especially ones that cost as much to get in the store. You can set them and forget them. You obviously can't use that for other things in the off season that will impact it. So it is a bulb. So if there's a lot of roots, then that might impact it. But it'd be interesting to see if people do intercrop these with things. You could totally intercrop if you space them. Try it. I'd like to see in the comments below people that have tried it and maybe tried it different ways, and maybe what you use it for. It'd be very cool. There are two ways that people tend to pick saffron. One is to pick the whole flower. So here is the whole flower, and you look inside, you see those little red threads. That is the saffron. So what people will do is they'll pick the flower in the morning, and in the evening or some other time, they will go through and take these threads out. Sometimes that's a social thing. People can do, after dinner or whatever. And what I do is I actually don't do this. I like to leave the flowers for the bees, because you see the yellow part there, that's the pollen. And bees still go to these even though they don't have the threads. And they sleep in them too. So I've had many a bee sleep in my saffron flowers, which is pretty cool. So what I do is I have a teacup and a little strainer, and I put those together. I put them together, and then I use tweezers to get the threads out. If you use the tweezers, see if I can do this. If you use the tweezers efficiently, then you can go down here and pluck just once, and you can get all of the threads. Now I got some pollen. I usually set that in a flower that's already there, but these are the threads that you're looking for, and those are the female reproductive parts of the saffron. So I go around, I collect them, I put them in this little strainer, and I do that so that there's airflow around them. And then this is just something for it to sit in. It's not of any purpose other than that. So I'm going to go through and harvest these. I have some in the back and some in the front, and it's actually evening right now. I usually do this in the morning, but it's not raining and there's not moisture, so it's okay. The problem with doing this in the afternoon or evening, if there is rain, is that they shrivel up and they're no longer good at that point. These flowers pretty much will last a day, maybe two. So if you didn't get it the day before, you might be able to get it the next day, but there's kind of no guarantee about that. So it is a daily harvest for, you know, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how many bulbs you have. So I'll get doing that and I'll show you close-ups of me doing that. So like that, I got all of them out. And I end up just putting it back in the flower. Alright, so these flowers right here, if you open that up, it will have the strands, but they're not going to be nearly as ready. So I would wait for that until tomorrow. Same goes for these. So all these, well, that one I could get now, but I'd wait for those till tomorrow. Alright, that is all from the backyard. And just from those few flowers, let's go see what's in the front. Just starting the season. Alright, so I planted all along both sides of the walk. This is the one that goes first though. And unfortunately some of the plants have taken over. So I do see some saffron starting there, that purple stuff. And it goes all the way over there. Not sure how much you guys are going to see. But maybe I'll just put it on the bowl. So this is 1 day's harvest, which is pretty good. And I'll show you what that looks like when it dries. Let me show you where I put these. It smells good too. So I put these right in my cabinet. I have a special little saffron place. I put the tweezers there, that's all they're used for. This is from yesterday. Let me close this so it focuses the right thing. So this is from yesterday, and that was a much smaller harvest. You can see how much smaller the threads are. But just so you have a reference, I will show you what happens there. Now, we have this, we have that one, and so tomorrow when I harvest, I will put this into a jar and take this outside. The next day when I harvest, I will put this into a jar and take it outside. That's what I've been doing. It's about how long it takes to air dry. Now I do live in a drier environment, so it does work this way. And you can see that that was a year's worth, this is last year, a year's worth of saffron. And it's best if it's kept, it smells so good. I think I used some of this actually. It's best if it's kept a couple months before you use it, but this is good stuff. I think I did use this actually because I do I do vacuum seal these for freshness, but this is a year's worth. I think I did use some, but I do have previous years because I'm still working on some of them now. Like I said, there are a lot of recipes that use saffron, and I tend to forget them. So saffron's good for many years, and it is best used I think a few months after you collect it, but it's still is still good for a long time after that. So my goal is to make more things with saffron, and I will show you along the way. I was going to put this video out after I did some of those, but I already have challah as a recipe. It's a bread. It's really good. I'll put a link, or I put a card up on the top. And I think what I'm going to do is go a few days more of harvest and then put this video out kind of at the end of the season. That way the people that want to grow it, they can order it and it'll be there. I mean, it probably won't come until September, but we're kind of past the point of planting right now. So any place you order from is probably going to send it to you in September, maybe August, but kind of like garlic that way. Anyway, all right, see you next time. So it's the next day. I'm ready to collect more, and so I take the oldest day out. Move this over. So I just have a regular canning jar here. You can use any sort of jar you want or any other container. And I do use a canning lid, a metal lid. I've already used this, so I'm reusing it. I use it for chicken soup, chicken veggie soup. You can reuse these for dry storage. You're not supposed to reuse them for actual canning, but for dry storage it's okay. And it will seal enough. So what I'm going to do is take this, plop it over, and it should get everything out. Sometimes there's a little dangly, so I just run my fingernail along it, and that usually gets it out. Now I'm ready to start my next one. But before I do that, I want to close this up. I don't actually vacuum seal it until I'm done with the season, but you're welcome to do that if you would like. And that is 1 day's worth of saffron right there. Usually I take out the threads outside and I leave the pollen part and the flower part out there, but as you can see, these are wet. It's raining today, so when it's raining, you either want to do it before the rain starts or do it quickly outside. And this is just a faster way to kind of get it done and not get wet. If you leave this out in the rain, probably these threads are not going to be very good tomorrow morning. If they get wet, they kind of deteriorate pretty quickly. But this is what people typically do, is they do the whole flower and then pick it. People probably pick it with their hands too, but pick that. And it's really easy to do like this. Just remember you have 3 strands per. Sometimes when they're wet, they stick to the petals. You have three strands per flower. So this one I grabbed because it was opening. And we can open that up. But you can see the pollen from that one, how that looks different than... See how those two pollen parts look different? This is from that one that was already open and the pollen is released. And then this one, the pollen's really not all that released yet. So that will happen when the flower opens. So that would be another reason to wait if you're looking at helping out the bees. So this year was the first year that both the front and the backyard are blooming at the same time. Usually the front yard goes first and then is just overlapped by a few days and the backyard starts. So this is unique this year. Not sure why. Things are changing though. So there's one I took yesterday. I took this already. I just came up with one of the ones I snatched up. don't know if you guys can hear in the background, but there's rain on the roof and rain in the skylight in the kitchen. And again, these little grass-like things, those are the leaves, so they're starting to come up, and I just accidentally pulled some with these flowers. I'll try and do it quickly. I'm sorry, I'm realizing that probably a lot of this is out of the shot because I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, not what I'm filming. Hopefully you guys can see most of it. Anyway, the gist is that you can do this inside. When they are wet, they're a little harder to handle. And if they get too wet, they're probably going to not be any good anymore. Like this one. Looks like this might have been from yesterday that opened late. Is my guess. I think they're still usable, but it wouldn't be very much longer. It does also tend to stick on the tweezers when I'm letting go of it because it's wet. So I'm having to kind of rub it on the strainer a little bit because I should get that more in the focus. Alright guys, that is it. Have some on the side that can stay there. We can push them in. I actually like to have it on the screen itself because it's easier to get off. It looks like we might have some of those stick this time. We're going to put that back in the cupboard. There we go. And this, again, is a border plant here. Nice little grassy thing. That is not grass, but saffron. Pretty cool. It's about this time every year that the saffron starts drying out. Yep, if you haven't been following along, this is what saffron looks like after it flowers. It's a little flat this year because of all the hail. Usually it's a little fluffy. Usually it's more like that. This is what the saffron looks like when it dies back for the year. You can see right here, it's still green a little bit, and it dies back. And that's how it's going to look. So that's how it's going to look all summer. And then in October, we'll have only the flowers come up, and then it'll be good. So I probably should separate these sometime soon. Maybe closer to October. But each one of these little things is a separate plant now. You guys can see that? So like that's a plant, that's two plants. Yeah. So saffron is a very cool plant that you don't have to water. I don't have water where these plants are. All I did is I dug a trench. I did put some potting soil in there, and because we have such clay soil around it, and mixed the bottom with our native soil. And that's all I did. I don't water it. I live in a Mediterranean climate, so it does get water in the winter and no water in the summer. So if you're trying to replicate it, that's what we get. So it's the end of September and I have not separated my bulbs yet. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be separating some of the bulbs, showing you showing you how that's done. And then once I show you that, I'll show you how to plant them. I'm just going to do that right here just for demonstration purposes, and I'll be planting them in other places around the property and giving some to some people. So every few years you should be digging up your saffron, and thinning them out. So saffron grows like tulips do, like daffodils do. They have that bulb, and then they make more bulbs around that. So it can get quite crowded, and this area is starting to get quite crowded. So I'm going to be digging them up. I'll show you how deep they are, and then you can plant them back that depth as well. And I would say planting them probably about that far apart is a good idea. If you want to plant them further apart, that's fine, but any closer, you're going to crowd them pretty quick. Also put in a photo of what it looked like when I planted these, and you'll see there was nothing here. This was all dirt. These poles hadn't been planted out by the pond. The pond wasn't even all the way like in yet. I don't even think I had the pond liner or water in yet when these were planted, and I really should have done this probably a few years ago, but I'm doing it now. And the one thing to remember when planting them is they need to be planted somewhere they won't rot. So I would say anywhere you would plant tulips, you can plant them. People ask, do you have to dig them up every year? Some people dig up tulips every year, some people don't. And I would say when you think about tulips, and I would treat them that way, you know, they don't need water. In a Mediterranean climate, they don't need water. My area, I don't water them at all. They are next to water right here. This side doesn't really get any, but in the front, they don't get water near them at all. We do have clay soils, so I did dig a trench and put in potting soil in the ground, and I think it was potting soil. It was potting soil or compost or something lighter than the clay, because the clay will hold water. So let's get in here. I'll show you what the bulbs look like, and hopefully you'll be able to do this. Around my area, they tend to flower starting around Halloween time. It's a 2 to 3 week window. My backyard acts differently than my front yard, so my time is expanded a little bit. I have different microclimates apparently. So I'll show you what it looks like. All right, you can see the remains of this. So there is some, this is California poppy right here. So I'll move that aside. But this right here is the saffron. So this, it looks like dried grass, dried hay. That is the saffron. And I mean, it can just be picked up now. It's no longer attached to the plant. And you can use that as straw for covering other plants. That's fine. Random piece of bark. So what I'm going to do is dig down. Actually, it's already coming up. This is super early, guys. You guys see this? That right there is coming up. So we're just going to dig next to it and see what we can find. It's super early. I've never had them come up at the end of August. Look, this one's coming up too. So here is what the bulb looks like, and I cut this one, whoops. But this one's already starting to grow. You can see that's the main growth, and then these are side shoots. This will produce a flower first, so I do need to plant these. And as you can see, it's planted that deep. So that's what, like 4 inches deep to the bottom of the bulb. So if you're planting just the bulbs, 4 inches deep is fine. So I'm going to be picking up some of these because they're a little crowded. And I couldn't find my hori-hori, so I have this kind of sucky thing here. So here's a bulb. This is generally what it will look like when you get them from the store or give them delivered. It'll be a teeny tiny bulb. No, not really much to speak of as far as roots on the bottom. There's going to be some. And then just this kind of top that is kind of nondescript. Now this one is starting to grow up inside that, but yeah, so that's what you plant, and you plant it so that this part is about 4 inches deep. I chopped one off. It's okay. So here's a small one. They do exactly like tulips do, and they have small ones, and they grow bigger. Then they have babies off the sides. There's a big one. I mean, you can see just how many are in here in just this one location. Oops, broke that one off. And all of those are just from right here. Like, there's one that's growing, and that's just a clod of dirt. But here's another one. These were in there. I'll put up on the screen when I got these because I don't remember. I did find the picture of them though. But what we're pulling up likely came from just one plant. One original plant. Yeah, so, I mean, guys, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 14 of these. I mean, look how, that's not even, I don't even know how they fit in that spot. Look at where they came out of. This came out of this big a spot. So they are crammed in there. They're definitely ready to be separated. But let me show you. Let's pretend that one of these is going to be planted. And let's just choose this one. This one looks like what one that you would get. It might be a little bigger. Hopefully if you buy them, they're a little bit bigger than this, but this will work. And really all you want to do is dig down about that far. So surface is right here. And put it in there. Kind of wiggle it in so it gets contact with the ground, and then bury it. And that's all you need to do, and you're good to go. So as you can see, I have my work cut out for me, and this is a lot of saffron. There's a lot of saffron there. So again, this is a pretty big one, but that is some pretty good saffron. And if you plant this, just make sure it's not in a area that will get too overloaded with water, and you'll be fine. Again, it's a Mediterranean climate that it grows in, and that means I'm in a Mediterranean climate where I am in California, and that is a wet winter and a dry summer. So if you want to copy that climate in a pot, that's totally doable. You can grow these in pots. So that's how awesome they are. You can ignore them in the summer and water them in the winter, and they will do perfect for you. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Get planting now. If you're wanting saffron now, you can plant these now and get flowers out of them this year. So it is not like you plant it this year and it's ready next year. They will come up, and most of them will give you a flower this year. So if you order them, I got mine at Dutch Grown. You can now they're more they're found more often in nurseries. So sometimes you'll get to see them there. Again, it's a type of crocus, and you might be able to get them in the nursery, but they are awesome, guys. And again, they're plentiful. I mean, you grow them and then you don't have to buy them again as long as they don't drown. And you will get more and more of these coming, and you can share them. You can, I mean, look how crammed in that is. That one has a half moon shape. You get little baby ones. These guys will grow, and it is awesome. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you have a better understanding on saffron and how to grow saffron now, and understand that it's awesome. It's easy to grow. It's time consuming to harvest, and depending on what you want to do with it, you might not need that much, and it will give you more every year. So thank you for watching, and again, I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit the like button if you liked it. I have a lot more videos on here all about growing your food, and so check those out. I have gardening playlist. If you want to grow animals, I do have playlists on my homestead animals, quail, chickens, and rabbits, and tons of gardening videos, cooking videos. I mean, we do it all here. So check out those other videos, and enjoy growing your own food. And guys, this and vanilla are the two most expensive spices out there. You can grow it where you are. Do it. All right, hit the like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell notification to select all for that, so that you get all the content. We want you to get everything. We want you to grow your knowledge in everything. It's awesome. And enjoy the day. Thanks for watching. So I just pulled this up, and here is how they grow. Here's a little tiny baby one. It just grows off the base, and then when they get big enough, they detach. In fact, this is probably big enough to detach. It's already almost all the way detached. Anyway, thought that was fun.